The Battle of Britain is about to begin.
Detroit, we got kickstarter. Let's follow a radio on Detroit. I'm doing out right on the target right now. I've got a submarine right in front of me. I'm going after it. Right, I got him.
Welcome back to the Lead Pursuit Podcast. I know you've been missing us. We're sorry. We've been busy doing what I don't know, printing 3D planes, something like that. But more importantly, I've actually got three of the other members of the podcast on tonight, and we're going to talk about the history behind the historical games we're running at Historicon. So all you rivet counters, all you grognards, all you armchair aviation historians, be ready for a little history knowledge to be thrown your way. So, of course, we have the historical expert of the Lead Pursuit podcast, none other than Steve, joining us tonight. Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Good to be back.
Good. I'm glad we've got you for all the accurate historical detail. But, of course, we're going to talk about Vietnam aircraft. So we had to bring our own Vietnam aircraft SME. Matt, I own more A4s than anyone else. Midget, how you doing, man?
I think I own more A4s than several Air Forces.
I think you do. I think the Brazilian Air Force contingent is smaller than what's in your closet of shame. But that's all right. Since we're talking about shame, we also had to bring on the man who has shamed the Lead Pursuit podcast with his bare face. Brett, how is shaven Brett doing these days? No mustache, no beard.
I know how a pet feels with the plastic cone collar thing on.
That's how cone of shame on.
It's like that, sort of. Hey, we cracking a White Claw for this one?
Yeah, I think we should, because we have the historian of White Claw on. So we're drinking a White Claw for Steve. Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about my favorite Vietnam pilot, Colonel Porkins. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Can we start you by going to WIKIPEDIA.com. Let's start there. There's your history lesson for the night. All right, let's jump into the schedule first off. So, yes, Historicon's our next major event, 16 to 20 July. Lovely Lancaster, Pennsylvania. If you're one of the grognards listening to this show, willing to beat us up about our history, you're probably already complained online about the lack of rooms, lack of parking, and the generally unhealthy food at the venue. However, we're still going to be there playing games, having a good time, and it'll be Steve and myself and maybe Casey, if we can shame him into it. But there will be several of us there. We will be in the vendor hall, the exhibitor area, right at the edge, like last year, booths number 400 and 401. So we'll be able to play games whenever. If you want to come by and play during the exhibit hall hours, that's great. If you want to come by and play later, that's awesome. If you want to come by and make fun of us anytime, sure, we're up for it. If you want to come by and match your historical knowledge to mine or Steve's on a live stream, put your money where your mouth is. Come on down. We'll talk about it. And you'll probably shame us into looking like idiots, but that's all right.
Joke's on you. We're all into that shit.
Joke's on you. We don't know anything about history. Yeah. You'll probably be ashamed to even talk to us on stream, but that's all right. NashCon, after that, is 14 to 17 August. Should have a good showing there. Hopefully I'll be shaming Matt into joining me for a couple days. And go up there to NashCon in Nashville, Tennessee at the, I totally forget the name of the hotel right now. I just blanked on it. The old one that's got a big conference area. That's kind of cool. But we have events. We have a fur ball. We've got some Aeronautica Imperialis, and we've got obviously the Blood Red Skies tournament on Saturday. So let's make it a blowout like last time. We actually have most of the room to ourselves. They are so ashamed of us, either, or they actually like us, that we're going to have most of a small room that we can use for Blood Red Skies. So please come out, play, push little plastic airplanes around, and be another pathetic middle-aged individual trying to be historically relevant. That's us. Maybe something at Pax River this summer, maybe not. Who knows? My summer schedule's getting full again. Steve's is as well.
I believe Pax River It's either going to be the first or second weekend in August for a one-day event, I believe.
Nice. Okay.
So I think I've been working with Joe to kind of get that dialed in to pick a final date. It's definitely going to be after Historicon. So
Yep.
it will be first or second weekend of August would be my.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good. I was
confident in
hoping
saying
we'd
that.
gotten closer. I knew schedules are getting stupid. Things are filling it up, but that's awesome if it's early August. And if it's early August, maybe I'll be able to make it there before NashCon because I may have a business trip to DC anyway. Yay, travel. Okay, so we'll do that event. Probably kind of do like we did last time, either a big Korea, big Vietnam event. I think we talked about Vietnam. Loaning you the aircraft we have at Historicon.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty thematic with the museum there, right? They're pretty do some kind of like naval Vietnam strike phantoms.
The United States
like that.
Navy.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be good. Some Vietnam action, some Beyond MiG Alley or missile threat or whatever you want to run. Totally up to you. Then we'll have fall in late October, early November. I haven't seen dates. They could have come out for all I know. I've been negligent in my keeping up with the schedules. But then early November, Phalanx Con. So a new one on the list for us. This one is going to be in lovely Hopkinsville, Kentucky, which if you have no idea where the fuck Hopkinsville, Kentucky is, you're like the rest of us. So yes, Google it. But it's a convention going on up there, and it is going to be at the Bruce Convention Center, and it's going to have a lot of cool stuff going on, other events besides just Blood Red Skies, Beyond MiG Alley. But we'll be there doing that. So please come by, hang out for that event, and the tournament for that, that data will go up on Longshanks here soon. All right. I will make my usual paid plug. Send us your events. If you have an event coming up, preferably a Blood Red Skies tournament, but to be honest, I really don't give a fuck. If it involves aerial wargaming, send us your events. And hopefully we'll either send you some swag, send you some certificates, whatever, send you a trophy maybe, all depending on what you're doing. So please reach out to us and tell us about your event. And then especially after the event, please post stuff in the Ready Room and send us photos as well. So it was great to see stuff from Rocky Top Con up in Knoxville, Tennessee. To see all of that stuff get posted this weekend. So it was good to see big 1/200 scale Yorktowns being attacked. So please keep everyone informed and let everyone see what cool events you're doing out there. All right, moving on to the flight line. New models, gear, mats, whatever, paints. I'll start with the least controversial of all. Hey, we saw someone doing some 9-inch movement templates in the Ready Room. Tell me about that, Brett. What'd you see?
Yeah, I saw somebody made some laser cut MDF measurement tools for their jet games. And the thing that struck me, they were good looking too, right? But the thing that most caught my attention was, hey, people are out there playing jet games. That's awesome, right?
Yeah. And that was good. So I thought they're pretty cool. I don't know if the individual that produced them is going to sell them, offer them online, put them on Etsy, whatever. Hopefully so. Those were pretty darn cool. So, Steve teases me. I do not use the patented Steve Toth movement token system. A lot of people love it because it's got individual movement templates for each range. But whatever floats your boat, one that's all in one or individuals, just use it. Speaking of Steve, tell us what's up for Blue Falcon Hobbies.
The Vietnam U.S. jet Kickstarter is about to launch. I guess we're looking at probably 72 hours from now. We're going to be back up and launch. So by the time this podcast airs, you guys will be able to head over to Kickstarter and pledge this thing. We revamped the tiers a little bit, kind of sweetened the pot, added a couple planes, put some new versions in. Full funding is much lower. I feel like I'm fairly confident it's going to fund this time. So you'll be in to get all your jets. So if you're into 1/200th or even 1/300th jet combat and print some of your own planes, head over and check out the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Of all people, Bob Mack himself rolled in and asked the question, hey, can these be scaled to 1/300th? And yes, in fact, they can. And thankfully, our brothers over at Iron Dice rolled in and said, sure enough, we've printed those and they look pretty nice. So I think it's a big testament to the quality of the models that you've designed there, Steve. I know we've printed a bunch of them. Some of the ones that are stretch goals I've just seen roll off and seen in person, so they're pretty cool. I am happy that you announced that new stretch goal, that it's going to be a topless photo of Brett in front of a Schwimmwagen, posing for the bolt action community. I'm not sure what it has to do with airplanes, but I think that's a stretch goal that a lot of people are gonna work to achieve.
Yeah, when we say stretch goal, wait till you see that picture. You're really going to like it.
That's right. That's what I was thinking. MG42s and thongs, baby.
I could do with that. I'm now going to need some mental Clorox.
Mike Honcho himself.
Jeez.
Savina wagons.
Hey, remember the elephant? That was a weapon in World War II, right?
It was. Are you posing in front of the Wienerwagen? Is it that instead of a Schwimmwagen, a Wienerwagen? Oh, we're all going to hell. All right. So, hey, we actually have an aviation podcast. We do things other than crack, dick, and fart jokes. But anyway, so moving on, the LPP exclusive Malta map got them in stock. So if you were at Adepticon, you saw it up close. A couple of you lucky jokers got to buy it up there and save yourself the shipping. It is a 4x8 foot piece of beauty. And really, we have Brett to thank for that. It was his good idea years ago, and he honchoed that. And it's a really cool mat. So if you want one of those, please order it. If you would like to save $30 and not pay for exorbitant shipping via the U.S. Postal Service, please feel free to message me, and we'll figure out what conventions we can link up at. And I'm happy to bring one and hand deliver it to save you some cold, hard cash, because there's nothing worse I hate than seeing how much people pay for shipping these days. But it's heavy, it's big, it's gorgeous, it's worth it either way. So take a look at that. And if you get a chance, we will have it at NashCon. I think I'll have it at Historicon if I can bring that 4x8 bag. Hopefully I can, and we'll have a little bit of fun. All right. Anything else anyone's seen out there that's interesting? Paint, airplanes, models, useless pieces of home equipment.
Bunch of people finishing their Pacific starter sets.
Oh,
I've seen 2 or 3 postings on the Ready Room. People showing off their completed.
Look much better than my Midway ones that look like blue Wildcats with no decals and grayish white zeros with black cowlings and no decals for years since the Midway box came out. So yes, I failed miserably. Matt, what have you seen?
I've got some of the new AK Wargaming paint pens. I'm not sure. I don't remember what they're calling those to differentiate from like the real color paint pens. But those ones are, I'll be honest, I think those are working better than the real color ones. They've got like a plunger at the end, so you can kind of control how much paint's on the end of the tip, and the
tip control is very important.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it is. But here's another tip joke. The brush is.
It's not a joke if you go ahead and announce it.
The tip is like more brush-like than like the other paint, the real paint pens. I kind of hope they put the real paint in this style marker because it
gives you a little bit more control and not.
Yeah, it just feels like a very stiff brush. There's another one.
Yeah, not. Stiffness is very important when brushing. So the other ones are more, what would you say, like a highlighter almost?
Yeah, I would say a highlighter or a marker, where this one's like feels a lot more like a brush. I'm using it to do some Vietnam aircraft, and it's been great.
And you'll be using it to do 4 A6s for me when I get my decals from Flight Deck Dan's Decals.
Oh, well, when are you going to get it?
He just sent me an email. He reminded me they were sized for Eric Gens. He's like, I can't swear that they'll fit Steve's, but let's try.
I'll make it work.
Well, that's what I told him. Yeah. I said, that's not my problem. That's Matt's problem.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Great. Perfect. No, I'll probably
that's
cannibalize.
Exactly what I told him. Not my problem.
I'll cannibalize Steve's decals.
I'll
find one of them.
And I figure once again, an A6 tail is an A6 tail. It may just be scaled slightly. One way or the other. It should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I mean, I've had to rip decals out of like Steve's giant stash of Steve decals that I've got on my desk. I think I've ordered F-111s 3 times.
Oh, terrible problems. First world problems. It's a horrible thing. All right, well, let's move on to the main topic, which is the history behind our games that we're going to play at Historicon. Now, we've played 2 of these before, but while I was able to stand up and kind of do the usual Historicon routine that Steve and I tend to make fun of people for doing, where you stand there and for 30 minutes you give a history lesson before anyone pushes a model around, that's not what we're at Historicon to do. We want to play. So I said, let's talk about the history of these events for a couple reasons. One, so people have a chance to listen beforehand and go, oh, that sounds like a cool game because the history sounds interesting. I want to play that game. Or it gives you some ideas for other historical events that you can turn into a scenario pretty easily. And kind of in that vein to explain a little historical freedom that you need to have when playing a war game. I mean, there's a point to playing the exact order of battle, the exact number of airplanes, and all that in a scenario, but you still want it to be a fun game. So I'll talk about a couple liberties that we took in our events. But let's list the events. So first and foremost, we have on Thursday at 2 p.m., because why? We're old guys and we get up late. 2 p.m. is going to be the Rolling Thunder Beyond MiG Alley game. So the historical setup for this one is the first and last time the F-100s escorted F-105s into North Vietnam. So on 4 April 1965, Air Force is going north. They're going to hit the Tan Hoa Bridge again, as they did many times in the war. And MiG-17s sneak into the formation and bounce the formation, get amongst the F-105s, get in with the F-100s, and the F-100s end up in kind of a shitty situation. So, Steve, you've seen us play this one. I think, Brett, you were there as well when we played this scenario. I know Matt's seen it at NashCon. It is a chaotic scenario. So if you showed up and you expected a very nice orientation to Beyond MiG Alley in a balanced scenario, this might not be the scenario for you. Matt, I think at NashCon we saw one lone F-105 make it across the board screaming.
Oh my God, that was like just so much. And then people kept coming. So, like, I think a couple of players started with maybe 2 or 3 aircraft, and by the end they were down to 1, and then a couple guys got waxed, and it was a lot of fun. But
true to the history we'll talk about here in a second, there was an F-105 that was just shot down right within a couple turns as a MiG bounced out of high cover, rolled in, tailed him, and shot him down. Steve, Brett, I know you've seen it at Fall In and Historicon. What's kind of your take on just a scenario? If you had to describe the scenario besides mass chaos, cats and dogs living together, what's the game view of it?
I kind of like it in the respect that I think it's one of those scenarios that's good for one, like a lot of people, or two, like somebody that's kind of walking by like, hey, I kind of want to try that game out. You mind if I hop in there?
Hop in. Let me punch you in the face. Try this scenario.
Like, I feel like it's kind of a good game for that because you can always throw like another MiG-17 on the board and give them something to fly, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we've done it a couple times, and you kind of feel sorry for the U.S. players as you keep piling MiGs in, but if the MiGs aren't savvy or lucky early on, they sometimes get savaged by the F-100s. So here's the setup for what was going on. This mission that was headed north, there were a lot of F-100s up there, and F-100s in different roles. They're up there as the rescue cap, providing coverage for any of the helicopters that were coming in and pick up the downed aircraft. They had a MiG cap up there, flight of 4 that had F-100s with AIM-9s on board, and obviously the 20 mil cannon. They end up getting vectored into a bunch of the MiG-17s that are coming in. But the problem is everybody's timing is off. So I always tell people that you think everything's like Top Gun. It's highly precise, highly well-timed, well-flown. The weather gets a vote. Your airplane gets a vote. All those things can and will go wrong. So in this case, the MiGs are chasing down a flight of F-105s down at low altitude, and that flight, because of delays on the tanker, weather, they're running late. So they're basically where they shouldn't be because they're late. So they're in the middle of the threat envelope. And it's early Vietnam War. Several non-tactical things got done. They're told to orbit south of the target and wait for their time to bomb. Orbiting, hanging out in bad guy country now is something that is, as Brett would say, verboten. We don't do that anymore. But in early Vietnam War, sure, let's just hang out. What's the worst it'll do? They'll shoot some AAA at us. But they hung out, waited for the time, and they weren't ever close to the MiG cap. So the MiG cap that's supposed to keep the MiG-17s away bounces them. And that's usually where we start the game. And as you guys have seen, between having MiGs on the board and MiGs coming out of high cover, about how many turns of breathing room do the F-105s have? I like the Matt's look right now. One. I've seen it with one turn where they bring the MiGs out of high cover on turn 2.
Yeah, I think when we played last time in NashCon, I held my MiGs till turn 2, but that was only to get them like slightly closer because I think one of the other players had put his opposing player to put his aircraft in high cover next to mine. So I was like, well, I'm only going to get one chance to shoot these before I'm also tailed and shot. So better make it count.
Yeah. So that's something to think when you're playing this scenario is you can wait for the perfect moment when those F-105s are right in your gun sights. But that also means that the F-100 is going to be right on top of you. So be careful about that because what happened historically was the MiGs did have about a turn before they got in turn beat up by the F-100s. So they end up shooting down almost immediately one of the F-105s and unfortunately killing Captain James Magnuson, who is shot down, does not eject, and the aircraft impacts the ground just south of the bridge. But then thankfully everybody kind of splits up the flight. Everyone realizes the MiGs are in the middle of the flight and they try to, in a sense, for the F-105s, as we've seen before, every man for themselves. Everybody get out of the target area because there's AAA and MiGs there. And the MiGs, unfortunately, then bag another one, Major Frank Bennett, who was also killed in action as his aircraft was shot down. They damaged his aircraft. He actually limped back out to sea, and then his aircraft crashed, and he was unfortunately killed in action. But the MiG cap shows up shortly after the engagement starts, and you get 2 elements of purple flight splitting up. The first one is the flight lead, Lieutenant Colonel Hayes and Captain Connolly. They show up and they start shooting AIM-9Bs. Hey, Steve, how have the AIM-9Bs worked out every time we've played this scenario?
Man, I don't know if I've ever seen somebody kill somebody with an AIM-9.
I think I've seen one AIM-9B connect the whole time we've played this. So true to form, just like the historical account here, the AIM-9s go wide. They shoot 20 mil. They close into range and shoot 20 mil. The MiG-17 apparently in real life had a really good dodge roll, but they evade the bullets and the MiG-17 disengaged and dove out of the way. The long and the short of it is there are no kills officially awarded. There's a probable that is given because everyone thinks that one of the MiGs crashed after the engagement. But it turns out that according to the North Vietnamese Air Force, they lost 3 MiGs that day. So it's kind of an interesting account where there may have been other shots taken and other things, other actions by the U.S. Air Force that weren't necessarily credited to the F-100s. The problem ends up being that the F-100s take the blame for this. So regardless of all the other things that contribute to the F-105s being late, in the wrong spot, being told to hold, because of this, F-100s are no longer allowed to escort aircraft north. So it's a strategic shift for the F-100s. And in my mind, I like playing it because, one, it is a very chaotic scenario, but it brings home that there's very real consequences to some of these actions. That just because whether they shot down 1 or 3, the political will was not there to have any Americans shot down. So the F-100s are pulled off the mission. F-4s then become the only thing that can escort north. And that obviously becomes a problem. So it's a cool scenario. I like it. Sometimes U.S. players don't like it because they're in the mix pretty soon. Anything else you guys have seen for that scenario that you want to talk about?
Well, I did want to say, lucky for you, Doug, we are playing this at Historicon, so I'm sure there's an expert that any questions about how many MiGs were shot down, they'll be able to clear that up for you.
I am sure there's someone who will tell me that exactly the way that I'm having the F-100s fly formation is incorrect, and they would actually be 3 inches closer on the board, and that the F-105s, Trevor painted them incorrectly, and they should have a different serial number underneath their tail letters. Yeah, okay, cool, dude. We're going to play a game here. Now,
Speaking of painting, getting something on the base so you don't lose the camouflaged aircraft is very important.
Yes, we
straight up just
we
lost
laughed
one.
on using the MiG Alley mat, the North Korea MiG Alley mat. There's a point where we're like, where the hell did that F-100, or I think it was an F-105. Where did that F-105 go? I have no idea. You look around the board, panic, trying to find where it was. Yeah, so it's pretty funny that the camouflage worked out well. So thank you, Trevor. Your camouflage was excellent. Trevor is also working on some other aircraft for us. So let's talk about that next set of aircraft he's working on. Okay. Has anyone here heard of Operation Rooster 53? Probably not. All right. So on Friday at 2 p.m., we will do Beyond MiG Alley What If? And it's a Egypt 1969 scenario. And I say what if because this is where I purposely chose to take a little bit of historical liberties with how the air war happened to make a fun scenario. So during the War of Attrition, after the end of the 6-Day War, before the start of the Yom Kippur War, there's a period where Israel and the Arab states are just wailing at each other with no real purpose in sight. So in December 1969, Israel launches Operation Rooster 53, which is their attempt to go steal a GCI radar off of the beach in Egypt. And to do that, they need to decoy the Egyptians away from that site. So they start doing massive strikes along the Suez Canal. And sure enough, all the Egyptian air power runs up there, and a number of Israeli helicopters, commandos, all fly rapidly across the south end, promptly capture the radar, hook it up underneath their helicopters, and fly it home to Israel. So strategic victory for the Israelis, but the stealing of the radar isn't the story I wanted to tell. I wanted massed MiG dogfights, and I wanted A4s and F4s together. But being the White Claw historian, like Steve, I noticed that nowhere in any of the accounts were there accounts of A4s and F4s together. And so I said, I might need to do a little research. And mostly that was because during the War of Attrition, the Israelis used the A4 in close for close air support or close anti-aircraft strikes. And the F4s, because of their range and their capabilities, they were used for deep air strikes, for going and hunting SAM sites deep behind the lines or for hitting airfields. So I had to kind of do a little contrivance, and I looked at the scenario or the story for Rooster 53, and then basically said, well, what if timing worked out? What happened if the A4s are coming off target? They get bounced by MiG-17s. The F4s are coming back about that time. They are told their compatriots are in the middle of a dogfight, and what fighter pod's going to miss a dogfight? They pitch in, but then, as usual, the Egyptian MiG-21s are lurking, waiting to chase down whoever is the straggler. So it gives us an ability to do what I want to do as a game, which is have 16 airplanes for 8 players around the table, so everybody gets to fly a 2-ship, and you get multiple types, and so it doesn't feel like it's just a very staid, standard dogfight. Put some very dissimilar aircraft against each other. So if you're the MiG-21 and you blunder into the way of an A4, then you will probably pay for that. Likewise, if you're an F4 and you blunder in front of a MiG-17, they will probably gun you. But I don't know. You guys have not played we haven't done any Arab-Israeli war scenarios before. And I think we've only rarely done anything with F4s with guns. So this is going to be our first time that the F4s will have cannon, because they tend to get savaged, as we've seen in the other missile-only scenarios. I know, Matt, you've seen that in the Vietnam ones.
I don't think I have. I'm not sure I played with.
You didn't play. That's
no.
right. I think you left. You didn't play Sunday when we played.
No, I was gone by then. I had to go pick my wife.
Yeah. Steve, I know we talked about it in the linebacker too. The next one we'll talk about.
Yeah, I'm curious how this is going to work out because honestly, most of the Beyond MiG Alley games I've played have been like that for one of a bloody cannon scenario, and a lot of scenarios with the F4Bs, I guess, that don't have the cannon. That don't have the cannon option. So it'll be interesting to combine that missile shot with the cannon shot.
Yeah.
Have to decide if you want to take a missile shot or a cannon shot, right? I think that'll be a neat dynamic.
I think we've seen it a couple different ways. I will say that when Roger and I first play tested the rules, we found sometimes, cannon equipped aircraft just flew through the missile envelope and went to go gun their buddies like it was Blood Red Skies World War II. But then we played at Fall In. We played a couple scenarios with cannon equipped aircraft, and that didn't happen. People still stayed back, tried a missile shot, and then closed to gun range. So we'll see what happens. I bring this up to say, first of all, it's a what if. So if you show up to this one and you try to historically judge me, I am just going to slap you with a neoprene mat. But more importantly, Matt wants to see that. It's like, I want to see that happen. But more importantly, this is going to be a little bit of a rules play test. What happens when we really start mixing it up between aircraft that have missiles, have guns, and how do hopefully new players respond to that versus how do BRS grognards respond?
Now, can you refresh me really quick? Is there a too close for missiles switching to guns mechanic?
Well, you owe a beer for saying that, and I'll gladly take you up on that beer when we get to Historicon.
I thought that was only in tournament.
No, anytime you use a Top Gun quote, you owe a beer. Those are the rules. You may live by them, or you may choose to ignore them at your own peril. But should you wish to pay up the fee you owe there, Matt, we can go to Back 40 Brewing Company anytime.
When do I owe one? When did I say it?
I don't know. I'm just trying to force you to pay a fee because I need more Back 40 beer. They have good beer. So I'm going to give them a totally unsolicited advertisement. If you're in Alabama and you don't go to Back 40, you're missing out on good beer.
It's true. It's true.
An opportunity to laugh at Matt as his daughter runs around crazy in the outdoor areas, losing her mind.
Nobody ever gets to talk to me. I'm chasing a 3-year-old.
It's actually, I'll digress here for a moment. It's a hilarious social scene in Huntsville that all of the parents who want to drink beer show up with their kids, let their kids run randomly amok as the parents are drinking beer. So if you're a beer enjoying parent with a kid that must run amok, I recommend Back 40 Brewery. Lots of outdoor space. Yeah, Matt gives it the thumbs up. Okay, so back to the what if mission. So it's not going to be super historically accurate. It's aircraft from the right time frame, from the right mission, kind of lumped together as what if all the stars had aligned, because they didn't. They did not get bounced by MiGs. They did not have any aerial engagement in the north during Rooster 53, Rooster 53, how you pronounce it. But they ended up all being in the air at the same time. Now, around the same time was another mission that I chose not to do, which is probably much more famous, and that's Ramon 20, which is the mission where the Israelis said, fuck you, we've had enough of Soviet pilots. We're going to sucker them into engaging our F4s. So that's one we can do another time. I chose not to do it because I really want to put A4s on the table because I love little A4s, but not as much as Matt loves A4s. Matt loves A4s much more.
Oh, I love A4s.
But yeah, so we might do Ramon 20. We could play Ramon 20 after we play What If. But that would be another interesting scenario when you pit MiG-21s that were not expecting it to get run over by F4s. Okay. Questions about Arab-Israeli war or any other ideas, history things to bring out? All right, cool. So the last one, Saturday, 10 a.m., it will be Beyond MiG Alley Linebacker, which is one that we've done a couple of times. We did it briefly a little bit, Historicon a year ago, definitely refined it for Fall In. Did what I thought was a fun game, and everyone liked it, even the poor F4 player who got savaged. But it's a strike on a bridge and a SAM site. The story ostensibly what brings us all together. The history is that on 11 September 1972, Carrier Air Wing 8 is conducting a strike up in around Haiphong Harbor. There's a couple different things they're hitting: SAM sites, storage facilities. The Marines of VMFA 333, the Shamrocks, Matt's favorite squadron, right, Matt? They are flying off the carrier, part of Carrier Wing 8, and they're a MiG cap overwatching the whole thing. Well, in the process of that, the MiGs get airborne out of Fukien. No, not Fukyu, airfield Fukien. And they start running down the strike package. So this, too, is going to be a little bit of a furball, but it's not as much of a chaos match. It's a little bit more of timing and finesse and matching the right aircraft against the right threat. Because you've got things like SAM sites. You've got, we have A7s out there with Shrike missiles to shoot at said SAM sites. You got A7s to hit targets, and you've got F4s with long-range air-to-air capability. So it's kind of a cool mission. If you look at the history of it, it was obviously the only Marine Corps shoot down of a Marine in a Marine airplane. The Marines had garnered a couple other kills like they did in the Gulf War later, flying Air Force exchanges. But this was the only one in a Marine F4. And Major Bear Lassiter and Lil John Cummings are both up on that MiG cap. And they had done combat operations for a couple months, doing cap and strike missions. And then they basically said, guess what? We need you guys to not do the fun stuff, which is bomb targets, but hang out on the MiG cap and just watch Haiphong Harbor. So the good thing was this squadron, as it's known, Trip Tray, VMFA 333, they had done a good job maintaining their radars, and they were using brand new AUG-10 radars. So they're much more powerful than the other F4s because theirs were actually F4Js at that point. And they were using the new Navy Fighter Weapon School tactics, or as the Navy calls it, Top Gun. Or they call it a bunch of dudes in blue T-shirts that talk with their hands. But it's pretty funny because Bear Lassiter was a MOTS 1 guy, so he's a black T-shirt guy like me. And he was also teaching the stuff that Top Gun had put out. So a lot of the new ways of dogfighting the F4, rather than thinking of yourself as a missile truck, thinking of yourself as a dogfighting aircraft. And so Bear had trained the entire squadron to be pretty proficient. What happens, of course, is a tribute to the uselessness of the AIM-7E missile. I would have to go through and look again, but I believe there are 6 AIM-7s fired in this engagement off the top of my head. The Rio, Captain Cummings, Lil John, does a great job picking up everybody on radar. So in the scenario, you start out on opposite sides of the board. There is no surprise. You're not bouncing anybody. But the problem is, in the real story, they launched a bunch of AIM-7s that just did not guide. Once again, AUG-10 radar, powerful, but was not the best at look down, looking at MiGs, MiG-21s down at low altitude. So big turning fight develops overhead the airfield, AAA coming up at you. The count from the beginning for Lassiter. So Bear Lassiter gets in this engagement with a pair of MiG-21s, 4 Sparrows, and 2 AIM-9Ds later. The same MiG he is trying to kill is still alive, evading at low altitude. That's kind of how the scenario played out at Fall In, as I recall. The MiGs were not getting killed at all. But what happens is the wingman has to break away for fuel, and as usual, the MiG takes that opportunity to bounce. So, we're not going to necessarily have a canned setup to be exactly like this, but the scenario does develop a good dogfight between 4 MiGs and 4 F4s out there, where usually the missiles are frustratingly useless. Finally, it's the third Sidewinder that takes down the MiG, and then MiG pilot gets shot down. Then there's another MiG that shows up, that second MiG in a kind of a black paint job, and the last Sidewinder gets loosed and also hits a MiG. So basically the MiG trails smoke, isn't necessarily considered a kill. But what happens is Lassiter then sucks up an SA2. So that's why we have a SAM site on the board. Was Bear right after he tagged the second MiG. They got a radar warning, got hit by an SA2, promptly went back out over the water and then shelled out. And if you've ever read the full account of it, it's pretty much Mr. Toad's wild ride trying to get out over the water so they can eject. But not so fast. The other wingman, Captain Dudley, his aircraft gets hit by AAA and he runs out of fuel. And then they both then get out over the water and jump out. So 2 MiGs traded for 2 Phantoms. Not exactly the most fiscally sustainable exchange there. But either way, one MiG kill, 1 probable / damaged goes to Bear Lassiter. So I think it's a cool story, obviously, because I grew up as a guy in Beaufort, South Carolina, in a Marine squadron where VMFA Trip Tray had just been disestablished as a Hornet squadron. And so that history was all beat into our heads. Matt, you were a Citadel guy, so that was probably crammed down your throats.
We only had ground instructors in the Marine RTC unit, so
wow.
Yeah, it was
explains a lot. Explains a lot why you can't pick out the difference between an F4J and an F4B, but that's all right.
Yeah, there's that, and then yeah, it was sad. It was sad.
Well, there is a Trip Tray F4 on the carrier in Charleston. So should you want to see that one, it's there.
And there's an Air Force F4 on the Citadel campus.
Oh, interesting bastards. Yeah, so plenty of cool F4s on different places to see. Steve, you've seen this scenario play out. You've seen this one played. What were your thoughts between, there's a SAM site, there's SAM suppression aircraft, there's MiGs, there's MiG cap.
I thought the most notable thing for me in this one was the Shrike rules. I think are kind of cool. I think that's a really neat rule mechanic in there. This wasn't the same scenario that you played last time that had the Wild Weasel aircraft in it.
So we used the Wild Weasel card with the Shrike aircraft for the first time. So and long story short, that the Wild Weasel card allows you to, now we came up with it. So now a 4-die attack, should you get a success, you suppress the SAM site. And, people can argue the game mechanics and fun versus realism. We chose just suppression to take the SAM site out of the game because it's generally so few turns anyway.
It's a cool mechanic, I thought. It just added like an extra little, I don't know, I think that's one of the fun things of Blood Red Skies, the little, as Brett calls them, trixies you can play with the cards, right? I thought that whole Shrike, Wild Weasel thing was like a really neat little added mechanic. Yeah,
because the trick was you could take a shot earlier at a lower odds, reduced number of dice, or you can wait until a missile comes off the rail. And when that SA2 takes a shot at one of your buddies, you get more dice in your chance to suppress him. So, choose how you use that aircraft. So it was fun. And we hit the SAM site with a reactive shot there. It was pretty neat. And knocked it out. And then they rolled in and hit the target right next to it. Anything else anyone wants to ask or think about for that scenario? All right, Steve, there were a couple other things you wanted to talk about for other games that might be going on our table down there, on our streaming table, a couple things you'd floated.
Yeah, I'm going to go full history on you here, Doug. You ready for this? All right. So we've been kicking around a Wings of Glory game, classic Wings of Glory, World War I, and I was this last week kind of putting together some scenarios. What would be a good historically accurate scenario for a kind of learn to play Wings of Glory? And I went with the last flight of Werner Voss, which I think anybody who knows about air combat has heard of that dogfight, right? Werner Voss with his I don't know, here, see if I can get this right. His was a Fokker triplane, I think. And the reason I chose it for a learn to play scenario is I thought, what better way than to just have people keep piling on SE5As against either me or Doug flying a triplane, right?
That's like a
Anybody who
great
shows
time. I'm
up-
really going to love that.
Yeah, anybody
Everybody.
who shows up, drop another SE5A on the board. It could be historically accurate and just kind of see how many turns we can survive until we get shot down by those British SE5As.
So reading my favorite historical source here, Wikipedia, flying his Fokker, he single-handedly fought 8 British, Canadian, Australian aces.
Yes.
8. So
8 of them, and like
8.
well-known aces. It wasn't like they were like
It wasn't just like some random dude who just happened to shoot down 5 guys.
I think Billy Bishop may have been one of them. And like,
I didn't see his name in there, but yeah, I
can't remember off the top of my head, but it was absolutely insane. I was reading about
James
that.
McCudden, Keith Musprat, Harold A. Hammersley, Arthur Rees Davids, Robert L. Chidlaw Roberts, Geoffrey Hilton Bowman, Reginald Hoyge, and Richard Mayberry.
Also, those are the most British names I've ever heard in my entire life.
Come on, give me some credit there, though, guys. That's like real history that I dug out there.
I know.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. Steve nailed it.
Steve props here. So that is way out of Steve's usual league here. So I can't not give you props. But while I'm at it, so we're talking about names. Now is a perfect opportunity. And I have to give this guy congratulations. So I want to say, as a disclaimer, first, this is not me picking on somebody. This is me congratulating a guy who asked a question in the Achtung Panzer group, and it was a reasonable question about, hey, there's not any asset cards in this new thing. Why does some of this not have any box art? But the reason I'm calling this guy out is because you have got the most grognard sounding name I've heard. He is Francis A. Thibert Jr. So, Francis, lighten up. No, I mean, dude, the dude's named Francis, and he then has a very, say British sounding name. I don't know if it's British or French. Junior. You sound like a grognard rivet counter. So Francis, if you're listening, which I don't think you listen to Lead Pursuit podcast, you seem like a tank guy, not an airplane guy. But if you are, drop us a line. We need to reward a man of your grognardism, being the Johnny on the spot with a grognard name. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, frankly, I thought we were the only ones listening to Lead Pursuit.
No. Steve's mom listens to Lead Pursuit. I have one fan. Thank you very much.
That's right.
One. I have 2 subscribers. I don't know who the other person is that subscribes on YouTube besides Steve's mom.
Oh, that's for the feed
She's having
pics.
phone problems right now, so she might miss this episode.
Oh, she might miss this episode. We're going to go to zero.
Working,
zero listeners this episode. Yeah, that's disappointing. So if you know any grognards that need to be renditioned, feel free to buy a grognard rendition t-shirt. You'll fund the renditioning of grognards and re-educating them at black sites around the world to be less gatekeeping, nicer game-playing people. Shameless plug for GRT t-shirts available on the Lead Pursuit site. All right. So yes, we're going to do a Wings of Glory game, which I'm super excited about. Honestly, I enjoy Wings of Glory. Is World War I my favorite time frame? No, not at all. I don't like World War I aviation history, but I like playing Wings of Glory. So, it is what it is. What else, Steve? I know we've thought of some other things.
We got to have an AI game, right?
Yeah, we need to. It didn't make the cut yet. I still have time to put things on there. And thank you once again to the Historicon events team being merciful in the fact that I missed the standard deadline, the get your GM badge by this date on the 21st of May. And 21st of May, I had no idea what we were doing. We just got our events in. They just got them there. We will post it on social media. But by the time this podcast comes out, go reserve a slot in those games. And we're going to be around. So the other thing is, if you're in the exhibitor hall and you walk past 2 sad looking individuals next to a table with lots of cameras and lots of little airplanes, stop us from standing there picking our nose. Stop by, talk to us, play a game with us. Throw stones at us. Say, you guys are the worst historians ever, and Beyond MiG Alley sucks as a rules addition to Blood Red Skies. And then come play a game with us, because we've got thin skin. We're going to cry if you don't play games with us and feel unloved.
Yeah, and we'll have models out all weekend, right? So if
Yeah,
we're
we'll have
sitting
models
there,
out all
come on
weekend.
over,
So
we'll
stop
play.
by, come over, play. And we play a lot of other rule systems as well. So if you want to play Missile Threat, I'm sure Steve can be shamed in playing Missile Threat. I will have to reach into the dark recesses of my brain to remember the rules. But yeah,
World War II
please.
Wings of Glory, maybe, right? We got World War II planes. Maybe we could throw some W2 out there.
I don't have any bases, but we'll figure that out.
I think I have some.
That we'll go over to Aries Games is going to be there. So we might have to go over with the Lead Pursuit credit card and pick up one or two airplanes and just bill it to the company. It's research, right? We're learning about other games.
Research.
That's my excuse. Learning about game systems I don't own. But yeah, and I will shamelessly admit, I've resisted Wings of Glory World War One, and Amazon is in the process of sending me a box, a World War One box set with the rules. So I gave in. Got to have my own copy of the rules.
Well, that's good because I've had it for years and haven't played a single time.
So let's peel that onion. You have had Wings of Glory.
Mm-hmm.
What's the other game that you seem to have had or you have models for that I just acquired the rules for? Crimson Skies.
I only have two of those. That hardly
only
counts.
Have two? That doesn't count.
Yeah,
that's
count.
not even you.
I
this
bought them
Matt
for
imposter?
Epic, like even before I met you. So that doesn't even count. There's only two.
Yeah, as soon as I mentioned, I picked up a old box set of Crimson Skies from Wayne's Books from their used game section. Matt's like, "Oh, I've got miniatures." Shocking.
Oh man, is that coming with you to Historicon?
We could. It's an easy fit in the box.
Playing some Crimson Skies, man.
Is
I've
it
never played
Hex?
it. Yeah, it's hex based. It's got a bunch of the cardboard airplanes in there. I literally got it in the mail the other day, and
Oh yeah, we got to try that. And I got to play a leader game too. That's on the schedule for teach Steve a DVG game.
I'll bring my copy of. We might be lucky enough that we have a real production copy of Fulcrum Leader, or I might be my pre-production copy, one or the other. It's still good enough. I'll be honest. So 100% open kimono admission here. I have a preview copy I haven't taken the shrink wrap off of. I'm kind of scared to, as the co-designer. I'm not sure I want to look at it. I'll either be really excited or I'll curl up in a ball in the corner and cry. The years of my life that I wasted on this. But the good news is Fulcrum Leader, 2 weeks from now, as in 2 weeks from the end of May, it should be done with printing and then shipped to the U.S. So the guess is end of July, early August, ? It should hit the U.S. and be shipping out to backers. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. I know it's been a long road to get from the Kickstarter to where we are today. Trust me, nobody knows that more than us. There's only so many proofs of a freaking card I can look at before my eyes fall out of my head. But anyway, so hey, let's wrap this up. We're going to be at Historicon. We're going to be playing some semi-historical games. If you want to come poke holes in the history, please do so. When I laugh evilly in your face and continue pushing my models around, don't take it personally. But we did want to offer something that at least scratches the historical itch while still is a fun game. Because if you've tried to make scenarios before, I know Steve and I have talked about this, and Brett and I have talked a lot, especially we talked about Malta. There's a point when you have to kind of deviate from the historical orders of battle and just say, let's put the number of aircraft on the table that'll be fun. It may not be precise, but it's fun. So what do you guys have? Anything else about history in war games and making scenarios? Nothing?
For Rolling Thunder, are you actually having any B-52s on the table?
I am glaring at you now. No linebacker B-52s. No.
Lame.
Would you like to paint one for me? If one shows up on your doorstep, you're painting the fucking thing. So
I mean, I've got 3 in my closet. So
all 200 scale as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're 1/200 from Dragon.
Gentlemen, do you see what I deal with here in Huntsville? This is what I deal with. Inconceivable.
I need to clean it up enough so I can actually like open the door so you can look into my hobby room and just pick through stuff.
I thought
why do you
Brett
have this?
Closet of shame.
Oh no, this is.
I should say closets because Brett was I think it was one closet joined by 2 doors or something like that in your previous house. Yeah, it was a impressive closet of shame.
This is a room and an attic, so.
Yeah, that's a life of shame. It's
a problem.
Oh, geez. Well, hey, with that note, I'm going to say, everybody, look forward to seeing you all at Historicon, NashCon, and keep climbing for advantage. God, my mouth burns when I say that.
You really sold it that time. It was good that time. That time it was good.
It's not the worst. It could be worse.
How could it be worse? How in fact could it be worse?
Don't let your afterburners go out.
Don't let your afterburners blow out.
Yeah, there you go. That's worse.
Don't let your sphincter blow out. What? Don't have a Steve sphincter failure after eating Korean chicken.
That's worse. Oh God, dude, that might have been the start of my my 6 months of stomach issues. It might have been your fault.
It's all been downhill from there. You did this to me. I just want you to know that Matt's too afraid to meet me for Korean food.
No, I'm not.
Not once, but twice. He has ditched out. Only once has he eaten Korean fried chicken with me.
Oh, that was good. I forgot about that. I honestly forgot that was Korean.
I love that my kids just call it butt burning chicken. That makes me so.
Dad can have more of that butt burning chicken.